Okay, welcome back. Today's lesson is on more derivative techniques. So go ahead and get your notes out. And remember, as we go through the lesson, to jot down any questions you may have, and we can take care of them during class time. All right, here are the 5 techniques of finding derivatives that we know. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the ones we've been working on. And remember on techniques 3 and 4, remember the du dx, dv dx is simply u prime v prime. It's another way of saying take the derivative. So don't get hung up on the notation. Today we're going to focus on rule number 5, and that's the quotient rule. And that's the derivative of u divided by v. And that's going to be equal to v times the derivative of x. Excuse me, that's v times the derivative of u minus u times the derivative of v all over v squared. So one more time. V times the derivative of u minus u times the derivative of v. And that's all divided by v squared. Okay, so that's vu prime minus uv prime all over v squared. So go ahead and write that down if you haven't already. And also notice some similarities about the product rule, number 4, and the quotient rule, number 5. They're similar, but they're a bit different, and I can see how that can be can get confusing if you're not quite sure. So make sure you study those two, make sure you can tell them apart. All right, moving on to our example. Today we're going to find the derivative, or f prime, of the function f of x is equal to 3x squared minus x plus 2 all over the expression 4x squared plus 5. Now just looking at this, I can see that this is the quotient property. This is u divided by v. So we're going to pull out the vu prime minus uv prime over v squared technique. And when using this technique, remember, it's just identifying u and v and putting things in the right order. So as we go to our next step, let's go ahead and take a look at that. We can say that f prime of x is equal to 4x squared plus 5. That's my v term. That's down in the denominator. Times 6x minus 1. That's the derivative of u, or the expression in my numerator, minus, following the formula, u, which again is the expression in the numerator, times v prime, which is the derivative of the expression in the denominator. And that's all divided by v squared, again, the expression in the denominator squared. So go ahead and take a look at that. And if you're not sure where anything came from, like, oh, how did he get 6x minus 1? Jot that down. How did he get 8x? Jot that down. Again, those are just finding the derivatives using techniques we already know. Okay, from here on out, it's just simplification. So let's start with our first bit of simplification. Let's start with the numerator. I see a lot of multiplication going on there. In the first term, I see 2 binomials that need to be multiplied together. Second term is just the derivative property, distribute through that 8x. And the denominator is we have to expand out that binomial. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so expanding out the first term, and I'll go ahead and go show that. 4x squared plus 5 times 6x minus 1. Okay, just using distributive property, we get 24x cubed minus 4x squared plus 30x minus 5. No like terms to combined, and there is our first term. Our second term is expanding out, or just, excuse me, just using the derivative property with the 8x. And we get 24x cubed minus 8x squared plus 16x. The denominator, that's expanding out the binomial, and I'll go ahead and show that one. So 4x squared plus 5 squared is, remember, multiplying the expression by itself and then using distributive property and combining of like terms, I get 16x to the fourth plus 40x squared plus 25. So using substitution, substitute them back into the problem. Okay, the next step I see is, well, it's minus an expression. It means I have to distribute through the negative sign. So I have to go through and change all my signs. And then I can start combining of like terms. Okay, let's take these out for now. So went through and I changed all my signs. And the first thing I noticed is my 24x cubes will cancel out. So I'll just put these over here. And combined our like terms. Negative 4x squared plus 8x squared leaves me 4x squared. 30x minus 16x is 14x. And the negative 5 comes straight down. Denominator stays the same. Okay, at this point, there's no more simplification we can do. So there is your f prime at x. All right, if you have any questions on any part of the steps on how I did something, make a note somewhere next to the problem, and during class we can ask that question. If you're good, let's go ahead and try this problem, and we'll discuss this one in class when you get back in. All right, I will see you in class.